Hello and welcome to today's video as we're going to cover the three series that took place in Swiss stage to end things out before quarterfinals. In terms of predictions, went 2-1. I thought D Plus would beat Weibo 2-1. The opposite occurred. Just going to quickly go over this because many people already know the results after yesterday, but if you haven't, there are some stats and things I'd like to discuss. So Weibo win 2-1. Dominated this series. This was the most lopsided series of the day. 82% control going to Weibo. That includes every minute of gameplay, where Weibo were ahead if you took gold and objectives like Drake's into consideration into the formula of who's actually ahead. Even in game one, where D Plus would come back and win, Weibo were ahead for 65% of that game. They threw it away. Games 2 and 3, a lot more lopsided. Honestly, D Plus, I think, were ahead for like a handful of total minutes of gameplay. In game 2, I think it says 14% of the game in game 2, and then game 3, Weibo were ahead from start to finish when we take into account objectives and gold. Light, 16-3-21, 30% of damage. He played a Caitlyn and then Ezreal twice. Ezreal becoming a very strong pick. We're seeing it really do quite well in these games. A lot of, ability to peel and things like that. Their dashes, etc. What was it? Arcane Shift. That's what it's actually called. Xiaohu 12-7-25, Orianna, Yone, and Aurora. So strong picks out of Xiaohu's champion pool there. I mean, I'm sure Ori has a high win rate at this tournament. Yone, of course, leads the way, essentially. And Aurora may actually have a higher win rate. It's just banned so much. Aiming 14-5-12, 28% of damage. Under 500 DPM. D+, not very strong in this one at all, especially in the damage department. Callista, Kaisa, Misfortune, the three champions played. I will say this, after preparing my next video where I do all pros and things based on stats from Swiss stage, the fact of the matter is Lucid left a lot to be desired throughout this tournament, which is fine because he's a rookie and that is what it is. So I guess I really shouldn't say it's less than desired. It's kind of the expectation is, some struggles, and hopefully he continues to get an opportunity going forward and doesn't get benched, but for some silly ass reason. That's not really like Dom want to do to somebody that they've committed to at the top level. But regardless, Weibo, played these games out quite well in games 2 and 3. It's like game 1, they let it get away from them, but in games 2 and 3, they were like, okay, we're going to try and close these things out, and especially in game 3, I mean, it was a dominant performance. They really had no answer. Breathe looked quite good into Kingen as well. Tarzan did his job. Xiaohu, even in the Yone game, I thought he left a little bit on the table, but it didn't make much of a difference as Light came through at a high level. I'm coming more to the realization of how good Light is. I think going into this tournament, I had him in the Gala Guma tier, and it's hard to really say because you got like Viper, Elk, Pays, and then you got the next three. I feel like I'm missing somebody in there. Jackie probably. So, this tournament is going to shake things up given how close people are. I really don't like tournaments doing that, but Light's done really well, and this was another example. Even if it was sloppy at times, these teams, we expected to be in this group. Like, the thing is, like, some people feel like, oh, G2 could have beat both these teams and this, that, and the third. It's like, yeah, well, fact of the matter is they didn't. That's not what the point of this draw was. The draw is what it is. Whether you like it or not, that's irrelevant. It's the rules of the trade here. That's the tournament. We all agreed to watch the tournament. We knew the rules of the tournament, and that's what happened. So D plus Weibo, they're in that tier of teams that we could see going between 7th and 10th place, along with a G2, a Team Liquid, FlyQuest, LNG, end up outperforming my expectations by quite a bit. PSG, and D plus and Weibo were in a dogfight, and Weibo found a way. And now they play LNG, and that matchup could go either way as well. I mean, we're going to look into it on Wednesday leading into Thursday and see what may come of that. But Weibo, showed up. They showed up. And frankly, D plus kind of did themselves in my opinion, swapping out Moham for Kellen. Sorry, swapping Kellen for Moham. That was really a nail in the coffin for D plus in my opinion. I felt like that kind of put a stop to any potential they had to getting anywhere at Worlds. It's unfortunate that they did that. I don't know what Zephyr was thinking. BLG G2. BLG win this one, a 65-35 split. Game 2 going to G2 heavily, 86% control. They picked Silas in that one, and then in Game 3 got really creative, and we saw the innovation that we wanted to see out of them throughout this whole tournament. I kind of changed my inflection on my voice, right, for that moment, because the fact of the matter is, G2 slacked off. That Nocturne Ori crap needed to stop. Good teams can run it, yes. G2 are a solid team, but they need to innovate to have a chance. We saw the innovation pan out for them, utilizing a Silas, utilizing a Yasuo. Champions we're not seeing a lot of other teams use. And then in Game 3, going with Ryze and Taric. And they were allowed to pick the Kalista, and maybe they'd been waiting for an opportunity to go Kalista Taric this entire time. But the fact of the matter is, that was what we wanted to see, and they had a chance because of it. Now, BLG in Game 1 dominated, 94-6 split. They crushed them. But in Games 2 and 3, it was closer. Game 3, BLG, although it was almost an 80-20 split, BLG were not as ahead as those numbers indicate. They were ahead, but not as much as, I guess, 80-20, if you will. Like, G2 were always behind, but not by enough where they couldn't, try and climb back into it. We saw some key team fights in Game 3 that ended up going G2's way and gave them an opportunity, but in the end, Elk was too strong. Elk, 14, 10, 20, 29% of damage. Kaisa, Xayah, Ezreal, the Ezreal being huge in Game 3. Knight, 13, 7, 24. LeBlanc, Nico, Silas, also strong in those late game team fights. I think he had a double kill along with Elk to secure a Baron that really kind of gave them an opportunity. There were some weird puzzling plays out of Caps on the Ryze. There was one time he TP'd from bot to top and literally just died under turret in the mid game. That kind of made me scratch my head like, what the hell are we thinking here? The Ryze was better than Humanoid Swain by a country mile, but was it the best in slot pick? It was different, and like I said, that's what they needed to do. They needed to throw some shit at the wall and see what stuck, and they had a chance because of it. Hansama, 15, 8, 11, Misfortune, Ezreal, and Kalista. So, it is what it is. I'm not a big fan of the MF pick either, in general. I've seen some players do well with it, but I think the conditions require a support or a jungler that's really setting up at a high level, and I don't feel like Yike was really doing that at this tournament throughout. And we've seen other players kind of just be left with, oh, well, let me ult real quick on MF, but there's nobody stuck, and now I'm being attacked and things like that. It's just not good. Not good. Oh, by the way, innovation. Tarzan picking Morgana in Game 3 for Weibo was huge into the Vi. Probably shouldn't have overlooked that. That was a big thing. That was actually his first time playing Morgana in his career. Despite it being meta at times, or kind of on the fringe, Tarzan had never played it. So, back to this though. G2 very competitive. Expected it to be, I think I may have picked it to be 2-0 for BLG. Oh no, I said BLG deserved to win 2-0 if G2 weren't innovative. Okay, so G2 were innovative and it ended up being 2-1, which is okay. But, the result was, a lot of people kind of expected this result. Sean being in the lineup helped. Sean looked pretty good on the Skarner. Very active. I think he clearly learned a bit from Wei over this last month and a half, maybe to help his team win. Knight on the LeBlanc looking very good. LeBlanc becoming a strong pick down the stretch here. Unfortunately, D+ are out, and Showmaker got to play it only a couple times. The Syndra stinks. We'll talk about that in a minute, but BLG winning, not a big shock. Not a big shock at all. TL FlyQuest, so a rematch of NA finals. These teams were 6-6 over summer going into this, and FlyQuest find a way. Team Liquid really win this series in terms of control, about 60-40. Game 1, they were ahead for 82% of that game and lost. They threw it away. Game 2, they dominated. They were ahead for 94%, but FlyQuest returned the favor in Game 3, leading from start to finish 100% of the time. So they dominated game 3. They won when it mattered. Blippo on the Galio top. It's not the sexiest pick in the world, but it worked. We saw interesting picks out of the bot lane duo. Busio picking Lulu. We haven't seen a lot of Lulu at this tournament. Might have been the first Lulu. It was actually a Lulu-Tom Kench matchup in the support role. And I don't think we've seen either of those champions here. We might have seen Lulu once or twice, but I don't think we've seen Tom Kench. For better or for worse, it's irrelevant how good it is. It's just a point of I don't think I'd seen it. And then in game 2, Busio picked Senna support, and that didn't go very well for FlyQuest, but they're doing interesting things. They're still being innovative, and that's an advantage that FlyQuest have going into the quarterfinals. Of course, it's against Gen G, so I mean that is what it is. But I mean, at least they are innovative at this point. Quad, very good 3-game set. I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised because Quad was very good in their finals against APA, and maybe he has APA's number now or something. But 20 kills, 1 death, 14 assists, 29% of damage. Ori Arione, very strong performance. The Oriana, I think he got double-digit kills in game 1. As the game went along, he scaled, found an opportunity, and took advantage of it. Busio, 6'3", 26, had the best KDA. Lulu, Senna, Rel. APA, 5'10", 9, 26% of damage. Syndra, Tristana, and the Kled. So that was a ballsy move. Picking Kled in game 3, that was interesting. Didn't really work out for him, but he tried it. And in part, you do have to give him credit for that. I think you do have to, give him his praise for even risking something like that and trying to win with an interesting pick. And I will always give players their flowers for being willing to do something and willing to take the humiliation of it possibly not working. That just shows not only desperation, but a willingness. They're willing to try everything to win. And I don't think fans really understand that because they get off on, trying to make fun of players and shit talk players and things like that afterwards because they've never actually done anything worth, half of what these players do on stage. So it's just a really disgusting behavior. But either here nor there. Fly, great game 3. They had to win that one. First 2 games, though, you could argue this was Team Liquid's series to win, and they threw it away. They threw it away hard, and it's unfortunate for them. But that's why you play the game, right? You got to play it at a high level. It is what it is. We saw, the plus Weibo were able to recover after throwing their game 1, where they were ahead 65% of the time. Now Team Liquid's was much worse. And as we're getting farther into this tournament, we're seeing a couple games like this. Early on it was kind of like the better teams were just in control and won. Now, as these teams are, these teams were very closely matched. We saw them going back and forth, right? That the games weren't getting too out of hand. And there were occasions where teams did throw. They did make mistakes, or the opposition found a way to crawl back into it. Now, quarterfinals, the matchups aren't the greatest in some instances where we may not see comebacks and things like that. But as of right now, I mean, this is what it is. Good day of games. Good final day of Swiss Stage. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Become a YouTube supporter. And hope to see you again tomorrow.